really need is one shot. Now they tryna get their hands in the pot. Damn, what you got? Grams. Where you at? Land. Cooking with the pan.
Hey, how y'all doing? This is Mongo Slade, and today we're going to talk about Ring of Honor Final Battle 2020. This is the WrestleMania of Ring of Honor. Their big show, their biggest show of the year, their first pay-per-view event following the pandemic. So it was a really long show. So we got a lot to get through. So the first match was the free card was an hour. First match on the free card was a fatal four-way number one contenders match for the TV title. The winner would wrestle the TV champion Dragon Lee on the very same night. Our competitors were Josh Woods, LSG, Dak Draper, and Tony Deppen. The rules of the match were lucha rules, which is if you roll outside the ring, someone else can come into the ring without tagging. But there were tags, which of course made this match very, very weird. Because in a traditional fatal four-way match, everybody's in the ring at one time. But this match, there were quote-unquote legal performers. Of course, they broke down eventually, and all 4 men were in the ring doing stuff. Dak Draper and Tony Deppen. Dak Draper, outside of being tall, he was pretty much just a regular guy. Tony Deppen was also just a regular guy. LSG looks like TJP and is also a regular guy. And they made a weird decision that Tony Deppen pins LSG to win the match. So Tony Deppen will wrestle Dragon Lee later in the show. We got a bunch of we got the changes that were made. There were some changes made because there were guys who got COVID. EC3 was one of them. Bandito and Flamita were two others. So because Bandito and Flamita had COVID, Shane Taylor and Shane Taylor Promotions were probably going to be offered the forfeited 6-man championships. He said that he didn't want to win a championship that way. He didn't want his guys to win their first championship by forfeit, so he turned it down. The last member of the Mexi squad is Rey Horus, or Rey Horus. He is the partner of Bandito and Flamita as the ROH 6-man world champions. And because he passed the COVID test, but didn't have a match, Dalton Castle said he was going to leave commentary to wrestle him. And since Jay Briscoe came to the show, and he tried to get his brother to dump PCO so that he could be his partner for the tag team championship match, which actually made sense. This is actually logical storytelling. You know, Jay Briscoe, like, okay, well, since EC3, he said EC3 was out licking door handles and gave himself COVID so he wouldn't have to wrestle him. I love that. And so Jay was like, okay, well, Mark, we up. And then Mark was like, I don't know what to tell you. You missed the boat. You missed the boat. He's like, what? He's like, yeah, I already got a partner. You missed the boat. And I was like, wow. And I'm glad that we're going to get into it a little bit later, but I'm glad this was not forgotten. So Jay Briscoe was pissed that Mark wouldn't drop PCO to help to just, be the Briscoes to wrestle for the tag team championships. And Shane Taylor, who didn't have an opponent, basically challenged Jay Briscoe, and they agreed to fight at the show. So Shane Taylor versus Jay Briscoe was signed, and so was Dalton Castle versus Rey Horus. So we get a pure tag rules match as the second match on the free show. So it was Wheeler Yuta and Fred Yehi versus the Foundation, Rhett Titus, and Tracy Williams. So the pure tag rules are basically, they sound like Jim Cornette wrote them. They are a save. It counts as a rope break. So if your partner comes in to pull the opponent off of you, that counts as a rope break, and you only get 3 of those. So then you also, if all of your rope breaks are gone and your partner continues trying to save you, that is a disqualification and you will lose. You can tag only with your hands and only when holding the tag rope. So this was very stringent upon the rules. It's also very good strategy and very good psychology because it leaves that partners have to trust each other. you have to trust that your partner is going to kick out, right? Because he had a limited number of rope breaks and there's a limited number of saves. So you can't just constantly come in the ring and pull the guy off of him or hit the guy in the back or something like that. You have to time it. It has to be timed perfectly and that sort of thing. So this match was actually pretty good. Like I said, it made for really good strategy. Where you had, these guys burning through rope breaks because they were saving their partners or because the guy wanted to get out of a submission hold or, and something like that. And it was really good. So one of the more dramatic moments is when Fred Yehi had a Koji clutch on, I believe it was Tracy Williams. And he was on the bottom rope, but they had burned all their rope breaks already. So you got Tracy Williams is basically getting choked out on this rope, on the bottom rope, because he can't use a rope break. And, Wheeler Yuta and Rhett Titus is outside the ring fighting. And so Rhett Titus has to pick up Wheeler Yuta and lawn dart him into Fred Yehi in order to break that hold, because there was no other way for Tracy Williams to get out of it. So that was pretty cool. At the end, Fred Yehi saved Wheeler Yuta from using their last rope break. And Williams just transitions into a face lock, which he then used the ropes for advantage, which basically, I didn't know that it was legal, that you could use. Well, I saw that, that you don't have to break the hold if a guy get into the ropes, but I didn't know that you could use the ropes as for leverage, kind of like Ric Flair does. And that's basically what happened. And Tracy Williams tapped out Wheeler Yuta. And it was a good match. It was good, strategy. It was very different from traditional tag team matches that you see because they enforced the rules, which is really bizarre. Okay, so the official show started. First match of the official show was PCO and Mark Briscoe versus Jay Lethal and Jonathan Gresham. So in this match, because the Foundation is a very work rate team, PCO kind of mocked them a little bit. He was actually showing, that he had some type of, amateur background, and he was actually wrestling with them and stuff, like doing arm drags and shit. And it was pretty crazy. Like PCO body slammed Jonathan Gresham outside the ring. Jonathan Gresham is 5'4", man. Like I think him and his wife are the same height. It's insane how small he is, but he's stout. Like he's wide, but he's short. He's short as hell. So it was okay. It was solid. It wasn't the worst in the world. The finish came with Jonathan Gresham rolling up PCO. So it was okay. So it was all right. There was no problems. I'm actually not surprised that Lethal and Gresham won. They should have won. It was the right team to win. So the second match was Rey Horus versus Rey Horus versus Dalton Castle. Dalton Castle it's a shame that Dalton Castle is pretty much broken down. Like for the last couple of years, he's just been shot to shit and they just been jobbing him out, and he lost this match too. So in this match, we found out that the Mexi squad, which is Rey Horus, Flamita, and Bandito, they would not be stripped of the 6-man titles, that they would actually get to keep them. So that whole thing where Shane Taylor turned it down seems pointless because they weren't going to get him anyway. So this match is pretty solid, and Rey Horus just won because Dalton Castle is shot to shit and has no momentum. Like physically, he just can't stand it anymore. He can't keep up. He can't do what he used to. So the third match was Matt Taven and Mike Bennett versus Vincent and Bateman, or what they call the Original Kingdom versus the Righteous. So the match started fast. There was a lot of flying fists, a lot of guys fighting. The match ended with the match was okay. It wasn't good. It wasn't great. I'm not a fan of anybody in this match except Vincent. And I'm a fan of Vincent from the character perspective, not even from his work. I just really enjoyed what he's been doing on the mic and how he's been, doing this whole horror king thing where he's basically just going out really trying to hurt people and, really coming across like a sawed-off badass. I'm really kind of enjoying that. But the finish came with Mike Bennett doing a backpack stunner while Matt Taven did a running kick. So it was like a combination move. And this was on Bateman, and Bateman was pinned. Then the girl who was with Vincent and Bateman, I think her name was Vita or something like that. She hit the guys in the nuts. She hit both Matt Taven and Mike Bennett in the nuts while they were celebrating. And then the righteous Vincent and Bateman, they used zip ties to zip tie Matt Taven's arms to the ropes. And then the girl ties her legs around Matt Taven's neck to hold him in place. And then they put out a wooden block. And they put this wooden block between the ankles of Mike Bennett, who had been beaten down. And then they slammed a chair into the wooden block. I guess it was supposed to break his ankle. And of course, Bennett cried, "Oh, it's broken, it's broken, it's broken." Like, I've never heard anybody actually break something and then scream out how it's broken. "Oh, help me, it's broken, it's broken." I was like, "Oh, get the hell out of here." And then he got carried out of there. Maybe it was just a way of writing him off TV because he wasn't supposed to be around that long. But it's unfortunate if he's not going to be around that long. I don't know what the hell else he could do. I think Ring of Honor is like perfect for him. But Taven and Bennett won. So I'm guessing we're going to keep moving forward with Taven and Vincent, which is fine with me, I guess. I'm not into Matt Taven. I really want to see Vincent do some other things with other people. But I guess if we have to get through this Matt Taven thing, let's just get through it fast. So the fourth match made me want to drown myself in pretzels. Danhausen versus Brian Johnson. Look, if you're a fan of Danhausen, explain to me why in the comment section below. I don't get Danhausen. I don't understand him. So the production team actually played Danhausen. Or the stakes in this match is Danhausen has to win a match in 2020 before he can get a Ring of Honor contract. And since this was the only pay-per-view he was going to appear on, he had to win this match in particular. And Brian Johnson was basically just this insane. I love this guy. He is the most insane, the most intense, the most jealous person I have ever seen. Like, he cuts really great jealousy promos where he's like really good. He's really interesting. So, but they played Danhausen's theme is basically like carnival music, which made me think, of course, that he's a joke. He's out there playing games. He got the silly smile on his face and everything. Throughout the match, Johnson was talking on the mic through the match, basically talking about how dweebs online think that Danhausen is a good wrestler, and he's better at cross dressing and wearing makeup than most of their girlfriends, and he said that fat slobs who think they know wrestling because they live in their mom's basement and listen to podcasts. He called Danhausen a clown, and he was just really going on and on while he was beating the guy up. Like, he's beating him up and cutting this epic promo. Danhausen did some stuff, but everything that he did was weird. And then he broke out a jar of teeth. No, you didn't hear that. If you've never seen Danhausen before, this was not an accident. I didn't write that down by mistake. It was a jar of teeth. And somebody poured a jar of teeth into Danhausen's mouth because he was going to hit this guy with a jar of teeth. Then he kicked Danhausen's face while he had a mouthful of teeth. The teeth flew into the referee's eyes. So then Danhausen grabs the microphone, same microphone Brian Johnson had been using, smeared his makeup all over it by basically rubbing the microphone with his head. Then he threw the microphone to Brian Johnson and then laid out. Because now, of course, he's doing an Eddie Guerrero. The referee turns around after picking teeth out of his eye, saw that the paint was on the microphone, disqualified Brian Johnson. Danhausen wins. I was like, I should turn this shit off right now. I should turn this shit off right fucking now. I should turn it off right now. I was so angry. Oh, I was irrationally angry. It takes a lot. Like, you had to be like Friendship Farm bad for me to get that angry. And I think Danhausen always got me there. I was very, very angry at Danhausen. I was very angry. Oh, Friendship Farm, for people who don't know, is that goofy fuck what the fuck is his name? The skinny guy with the stupid mask. What the fuck is his name? Gentleman Jarvis or something like that. Oh, they're fucking awful, bro. They're awful. That's probably one of the most awful acts in the business. Next to Reno Scum, they're pretty bad. Danhausen is not on that level. He at least shows some skill that he can do certain things, but he's mostly a character guy. That he's out there just working his character. That if he had to work, he could work. But if he can just get by being Danhausen and being silly, then he would rather do that. That's pretty much what we've got here. And I don't think Danhausen really fits in. I don't think he fits in Ring of Honor. I know he has a big following, but I think he probably fits AEW a lot more because he's a comedy character. You know, like Ring of Honor is trying to go back to being serious, pro wrestling stuff. You know, Danhausen doesn't really fit that mold, at least not to me. You know, and maybe they were trying to use him as an attraction to bring in a different type of audience. But if he's going to be doing silly shit like having jars of teeth and, you know, having carnival music and just being generally weird, I don't know, man. It's not for me. So the next match was Tony Deppen versus Dragon Lee for the ROH TV Championship. I don't know what's the difference between the TV title and the Pure Championship. I know the Pure Championship has its own rules, but I don't know if the ROH TV title has a time limit. Like, I don't think it was mentioned here. I think if it was, it might have been like 20 minutes, maybe. I don't know. Maybe I should have paid more attention. But there was no code of honor. You know, when Tony Deppen reached for the code of honor, Dragon Lee flipped him off. It's really weird watching Dragon Lee work heel because he has never been a heel from anything that I've seen. So I felt like I missed a lot when I saw Dragon Lee working heel. I was like, man, what the hell did I miss? And then of course I found out that I missed that he joined Los Ingobernobles. I'm like, oh, okay. That's what I missed. Dragon Lee hasn't wrestled since February. So this was a long time. This was basically running knees the match because they both just did a bunch of running knees. I really hate that Kenny Omega started that shit. I really do. Like, I know that Mr. Wrestling did running knee lifts, and so did not Superfly, but so did Ted DiBiase and Jake the Snake Roberts. Yeah, but I'm talking like the pump knees and the stuff that they call the V trigger. Like, that stuff really became popular when Kenny Omega started doing it. I really hate that he did it because now everybody's doing that shit. It's like 100 running knees now. This match was not bad though, because Tony Deppen, despite the fact that he came across as, let's say, one of the most white bread motherfuckers on the world, he had cut a promo earlier in the night about how he left his wife and his 3-week-old son. He said he had not left the house in months, and he left them for this opportunity. That he can't go home having to explain to his wife that he left the house, putting their son in danger, or to go away, away from their son who had just been born. And, because ROH is in a bubble. I was about to say he can't go back home, but, so that he left his home, he came back without the title. And he said, you would have to kill me. And then whenever somebody says that, they need to stop letting babyfaces say stuff like that. You'll have to kill me to stop me. Because it almost never gets to that point. Never. This guy lost to a running knee smash. That is nowhere near you'll have to kill me. Right? You cut this impassioned promo about your family and how this guy's going to have to kill you in order to stop you from winning that title. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, the seventh running knee was one too many. I guess that's what we mean by we'll have to kill you. It wasn't nearly enough. It was stupid. I'll say the next match, but the match itself was fine. Tony Deppen showed real fire, real intensity. Dragon Lee was Dragon Lee. He's always good. I really wish he wasn't a heel, though, because Dragon Lee as a heel is stupid. The next match was Shane Taylor versus Jay Briscoe. Both men, it was a fight. For most of this match, it was a fight when they did not use wrestling holds. Like, for most of this match, there was basically guys being thrown into stuff and guys doing a lot of chopping, a lot of punching. So they trying to do this gimmick with Shane Taylor where his punch is so devastating because he put so much body weight behind it that he can knock you out. And so he threw like three or four of these devastating right hands and knocked Jay Briscoe all over the place. And, I like that there were parts of this match, where Jay Briscoe tried to use strategy. And because he was a smaller guy, and this is so weird because you would think that anytime that you have a match where the one guy is smaller than the other, you would naturally try to use equalizers and different things like that to break down the size difference. But what they end up doing inevitably, for no apparent reason, is having small guys stand up to big guys, mano y mano, without using strategy, without trying to be smart or anything. In this instance, they actually did something like that, and then they made Jay Briscoe pay for it. That's when he would get hit with those big right hands and get knocked out or knocked down or whatever. But Jay Briscoe did try to weaken Shane Taylor with like a sleeper hold. He kind of just put him in a sleeper, made him carry his body weight, hold him in it for a while, get the big guy down. Simple stuff. You really could have been doing the whole match. Could have done like a rope-a-dope where, Shane Taylor is big and early he's got a lot of energy, so he comes at you really hard. But you dodge, jump in his back, put him in a sleeper, grab a ankle lock or a toe hold or something like that. You could have told that story, but what they chose was Jay Briscoe's fired up. He's going to try to fight, and he paid for it. So apparently Shane Taylor has a move called the Marcus Garvey Driver, which is basically a package pile driver. Okay, I'm not so sure we're going to be naming. We should be naming our moves after. It's not. It wouldn't be appropriate to call Marcus Garvey a civil rights leader because he was not only pre-civil rights, but I think he would have disagreed with a lot of the stuff that the civil rights movement was talking about. I'm not gonna get into Marcus Garvey right now, but Shane Taylor ended up beating Jay Briscoe with the Welcome to the Land, which is basically the greetings from Asbury Park. I'm not really a fan of Shane Taylor's matches. I've seen quite a few of them now. When he was a TV champion, he was okay. But now he basically just works these heavyweight matches and basically punch and kick fests. And I don't think his selling is up to par. And he really does need to, I would hate to say it, but he needs to lose some weight because he looks very bottom heavy. So, and especially because he wears tights. Like if he wore like jeans or something like that, man, maybe it would hide. Like if he wore like jeans and a t-shirt or something, he'd probably look more like a bruiser. But, he wants to look like a wrestler and wear tights. He probably needs to lose some weight. And plus, just generally for his health. He's a big dude, man. And he can talk. He's got some intensity. So I want him to last, to be able to hang around for a little while. So Mark Briscoe came out to the ring after Jay lost because Shane Taylor Promotions was in the ring. So they stared at each other. Essentially, Jay Briscoe and Shane Taylor stared at each other. And, everybody's waiting for something to pop off. And then they shook hands, and basically Jay Briscoe was like, okay, I got you next time. So then Mark put up his hand as a sign of respect for Jay. And Jay, he hesitated. And Mark looked at him, and he hesitated. He was like, come on. And then Jay dapped him, but he dapped him real fast and then jumped out of the ring. And then Mark was left in the ring like, whoa, what was that about? And it's like, you know what it's about, nigga. You know what it was about. You were supposed to drop PCO and be his partner, and you didn't want to do it. So, don't act brand new. Okay, so the seventh match was Jonathan Gresham versus Flip Gordon for the Pure Championship. They have well established the Pure rules. So, I thought this was pretty good. The early part of the match showed Jonathan Gresham essentially being very, very dominant. Gresham just did whatever he wanted to physically to Flip Gordon. Twisted his ankles. I mean, he had the guy basically like, ouch, 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 ouch. And Gordon went through 2 rope breaks. He burnt through a rope break to get out of a hammer lock, then also to get out of a leg lock. I mean, he was just dominating. And then he used his final rope break on something else, I forget which. But there was a spot in the match where Jonathan Gresham tried to do a flying crossbody, but Flip moved, and Gresham landed straight on the mat. He started holding his knee. And then we get Gresham sort of pulled his knee pad down a little bit to expose that he had a bandage on his knee, which gave Flip Gordon an opening. So now the match became competitive as Flip Gordon was able to now do different leg locks and different things like that in order to weaken and target Jonathan Gresham's knee. And so he forced Gresham to use 3 rope breaks on an STF, which they call it submit to flip, which is basically just an FTF. And it was pretty cool. And then also, I thought this was pretty dope too. The match was pretty back and forth. It was pretty close, 50-50, even though Gresham is 5'4". But the match was pretty close. And then Flip used one of his you get one, a closed fist, and he just punched Jonathan Gresham right in the face. But he didn't take advantage of it. Like, you would think that would be something like you would, boom, closed fist in the face, and then you go for your finish or something like that. No, he didn't do that. Instead, it was going back and forth because everything has to be Japan, where everybody forearm, back and forth, back and forth. So that was weird. It was weird to kind of throw it, but it all made sense in the end, so I kind of enjoyed it. There was a hammerlock back suplex from the top rope by Gresham. We were told throughout the night as Gresham was, put in, and then it began to make a lot more sense. Once, like near the end, because after you've been told like once or twice, you see that Gresham is working the shoulder and the arm, and you find out that Flip Gordon had a surgically repaired shoulder. So all of these, like him using his rope break to get out of a hammerlock, you would think like that's the stupidest shit in the world. But if you have a surgically repaired shoulder, you want to make sure that they're not putting any pressure on that arm. So he used his rope breaks to get out of that. So now this guy's using hammerlocks from the top rope. And the guy was, hurt. It was only a 2 count, which of course was stupid. And then there was a running forearm by Gresham. It was basically like I think Flip Gordon was on his knees, and Gresham hit the ropes, came back, boom, running forearm. And then Flip Gordon laid out 1, 2, Gordon kicked out. Gresham got up to do it again, and then the ref stopped the match. Said, "Oh, Flip Gordon can't continue." I was like, what the fuck? What the fuck? What a dumb finish. Why not just pin this guy? That was a dumb finish. I know they're trying to protect Flip Gordon. I don't know for what, but it was really weird. It was really strange, man. Like to have a referee stoppage in this situation, and in the way that they did it, because the guy just kicked out, and the commentators are like, "Oh, he's just kicking out of muscle memory. There's nobody home. There's nobody there. He's out of it." And I'm like, "Come on, bro. Then just pin the guy and let's call it a day." So Gresham wins, and of course, despite the fact that it was a referee stoppage, Flip Gordon is standing up not 3 minutes after the bell rang. So, I guess UFC kind of started that whole thing where you can still stand up. It's okay. So Flip Gordon refused to participate in the code of honor. So he wouldn't shake the hand, which is according to pure rules you have to. And then of course, it would have been nice, but I think it kind of ties into it doesn't kind of. It does tie into what Jonathan Gresham said earlier. I didn't go through the promos because a lot of the promos were going too fast because they were just chopped up pieces of other talking points. I just couldn't keep up with that stuff. But Jonathan Gresham did make a comment that that Flip Gordon is impressive, but he's a high flyer and all that type of stuff. He doesn't care about Ring of Honor. He doesn't care about the Pure Championship. He doesn't care about Pure Wrestling. He doesn't care as much as he does. And that was, of course, shown when Flip Gordon lost the match, but didn't participate in following the rules of the Pure division. And so the commentator says, and I think very interestingly, that Flip Gordon didn't really care about the Pure division. He just wanted a title. He just wanted any title. And I thought that was pretty badass. Like, I didn't come here to respect your stupid rules. I came to win a title. The rules are just part of it, you know. I kind of like that. I would have liked for him to say that and not the commentators, but that would have been interesting. That would have been an interesting storyline. Now that I think was very interesting is that's probably what we're going to end up getting. We'll get there in a moment though. So the main event was Brody King versus ROH for the ROH World Title, and this match was it was something. ROH hasn't wrestled since February the 29th, so it had been almost 10 months. They, of course, a big guy, not as big guy. ROH is 6 feet, I believe, but Brody King is much bigger, also much thicker. And of course, they had ROH chop him down to size, so Brody King couldn't even get the big guy stuff. And then ROH spit on him because he's Los Ingobernobles, which means he's disrespectful as hell, and that's gross as fuck. I'm telling you, man. Spitting on somebody, you should get your brains on the wall for that. I'm not even gonna hold you up. So outside the ring, the first time they went outside the ring, Brody King was dominating. He was throwing ROH all over the place. They throwing him up against the barricades, up against the ring post, just beating ROH's ass. Second time they went outside the ring, ROH had the advantage, and ROH was kicking Brody King's ass. He's throwing him up against the barricades. He strangled him with a cable right in front of the referee. And then the crazy thing is, the commentators were explaining that, oh well, this is the biggest show of the year. This is the main event of the show, and it's up to the referees. It's at the referee's discretion. But what do you do if you disqualify ROH? He's the champion. He gets to keep the belt. Also, you get to disappoint all these people. So what do? You basically put the referee in a situation where if he enforces the rules, then the heel gets what he wants. But if he doesn't enforce the rules, the heel gets what he wants. And I thought that was an interesting situation. But it's still not, it doesn't feel right. Like the heel wins regardless of what happens in that situation. It needs to be something else. But I still felt like it was interesting because the size difference made it make a little bit more sense that you got this guy strangling this much bigger man with these cables. He's also whipping him with the cables. Anything to keep this guy down because the guy was so much bigger and so much stronger than ROH. But I didn't like it. It felt weird. Like, it's a smart thing, but I think that companies too often play that game. Like AEW does that a lot too. Like when people start to asking questions like, why is this not a disqualification? They say, well, you don't want to have a disqualification in a match this big. It's like, so every main event match is basically disqualification, or no disqualification, because if you have a DQ, you might upset some people. How about telling your performers to stop doing that shit? Like that should have been like the first thing. Like if you're going to have that kind of attitude, then you need to tell your performers not to put your referees in that position. Because then, by definition, every main event is no disqualification. Because how dare you to disqualify me? So what? The guy can just beat this man with a chair, and you don't want to disappoint the audience, so you won't enforce the rules. I mean, we literally have the same problem going on in our political system. So we don't want to enforce the rules because it might upset somebody. So go ahead and break the rules. We're going to reward you for breaking the rules. That's stupid. What the fuck, man? Come on. Have some balls. Tell this guy, look, we're going to disqualify you and I'm going to strip you of the title. How about that? So come on. Give the referees some teeth. You might as well just sit the referee on the side of the ring, and at that point, at that point, like once you do that, you also taking the disqualification count outs out the way. Referee ain't going. It's the same situation. Who wants to see a great match end in count out or disqualification? Nobody. Then you tell your performers not to put the referee in that position. That's common sense. So anyway, the match went on. It was kind of heavy-handed. It was actually pretty okay. I think Gordon and Gresham was better, but this was all right. And Dragon Lee came out and distracted the ref because it looked like Brody King was going to, actually start winning this match. The referee was distracted, and then La Bestia del Ring, who apparently is Rush's father, hit Brody King in the head with a chair. And then Rush hit the bull's horns for the win. Los Ingobernobles, which includes Rush, Dragon Lee, La Bestia del Ring, they're celebrating in the ring, and the Foundation come out. They are showing their displeasure for what Rush has done because he's cheated and used outside interference and hit a man in the head with a chair and cheated generally by choking people with cables and other things. And they show their displeasure that what the Los Ingobernables has done. And then Jonathan Gresham raises the Pure Championship, and Rush raises the World Championship. And now we've got a faction war. The Foundation versus Los Ingobernables. And you know what? Both of these are heel stables, but you can easily see which way to go because the Foundation, despite the fact that they're heels, they're honorable heels. They play by the rules. They actually like the rules. They wanted the rules. They demand the rules. That's very strange, right? That what makes them heels are the fact that they're very elitist. They look down upon people, as being less than, they care about pure wrestling. You're not a pure wrestler. And, you don't care about pure wrestling. So they're very niche guys. But Los Ingobernables are just chaotic evil. Whatever it takes to win, that's what you will do. You disrespect your opponent, disrespect the code of honor, disrespect the company. And, the Foundation isn't about that. They're about proving that they're the best and proving that they're the best between the ropes. And that doesn't always end in cheating. That they don't always need to cheat. And they want to elevate Ring of Honor, while Los Ingobernables want to make Ring of Honor better. They want to purge all of the bullshit from Ring of Honor. And in this situation, the bullshit is Los Ingobernables, which is a bigger heel group, because they cheat. And this was the main event of the show that ended with an old man hitting a guy in the head with a chair. So the show was fine. I like the idea of Los Ingobernables versus the Foundation. I like the idea we're going to have this philosophical difference between these organizations that are both heel organizations. But I like the idea of them being very philosophically different. But this show suffered. This show suffered from lack of good finishes, and they really didn't have, star power. Like I said, I really wanted to see EC3 and Jay Briscoe. Of course, we're not going to get that chance. Who knows when the hell that match is going to happen? And I hate to be like, well, I was only watching this show for EC3. I wasn't. I really am a fan of Rush and Dragon Lee, but of the matches that were announced, the only one that was really that interesting to me was the EC3 Jay Briscoe story, because they had put so much effort into it. But from a mat perspective, the shows were fine. Gresham and Flip Gordon was really good. Deppen and Dragon Lee was okay. The tag team championship match, was fun. So it wasn't a total flop, but they need to work on their finishes. Specifically, their idea of not protecting Josh Woods by having him lose this fatal 4-way match was stupid. The guys that they're pushing, I don't know why they're pushing those particular guys. That's kind of where it starts. Like I like Gresham. He's very short, but I like Gresham. He's serious. He can really perform at a high level. So I like Gresham. I like his position. I love Rush. I love Dragon Lee. So most of the guys are fine, but I think that they're gonna try to push Shane Taylor on everybody next. And I'm not feeling that. I'm just very whatever on that. But I am looking forward to the faction war. That faction war might be fun. maybe we'll see Flip Gordon join Los Ingobernobles along with Kenny King, and that ought to be fun because you'll have Rhett Titus on one side, Kenny King on the other, and then you'll have and they've have history, and so then that ought to be fun, you know. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to this channel. If you guys like what I do, take the $1 challenge and send me some ducats. I appreciate that. I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks.